I'm liking the slick look.
Welcome to the Depth Chart Podcast, the post-game has-been edition. This is a new format with On 3, KSR, and I like it. And I'm joined by two guys in Louisville, Nick Rouse, running on fumes. What'd you go down about 4 o'clock last night or this morning?
Yeah, we had to make a pit stop at Waffle House on the way home, so didn't get back as quickly as we liked. But we got to laugh at Louisville's misery on the way home. That was a good time. Did not see that one coming, but Freddie, we are here to talk Cats. We're not here to make fun of Louisville because we could be here all day, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Jay Dortch, teammate of mine. Started about 14 fights against Florida, the Cats' next opponent. Jay, thanks for coming back for another season. You got to jet out of here to go to the Lord's house about, 10:45? So good to have you on, man.
I appreciate it, man. Looking forward to it.
Nick, we got some really, really special partners on this podcast. You want to get into that before we break down the game?
The Depth Chart Podcast is brought to you by our friends at Port Royal Plants, which you hear a lot about CBD, and this is another all-organic, bluegrass-made, produced CBD project. It's an all-natural Kentucky Proud product, grown, processed, manufactured in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, because your mind and body, they deserve quality products you can trust, and you can get them all at portroyalplants.com, whether it's mosquito spray, drops for Port Royal Plants. They got a little bit of everything to take care of you. Give them a try today. Visit them at portroyalplants.com.
Yes, thanks, Port Royal. Really appreciate it. Used your product Friday night in Titletown. Okay, Jay, instant reaction. For me, I'm a numbers guy. I'm going to start with what I didn't like first. I didn't like 50 rush yards. I did not like that. I did not like 1.9 yards per carry. That's very low. Chris Rodriguez was missed so bad, and I try to say that throughout all the podcasts and writings. Listen, you can't gloss over the fact that he's not going to be on the field. The game changes. I thought it changed the rush game, obviously, but the play-action game. Miami wasn't honoring the play-action because 24 wasn't on the field. I thought that the tackle struggled. Lua Levis got hit way too many times. Miami had 4 sacks. I did not expect that. So the bad there. And defensively, I thought, listen, you give up 13 points to that quarterback and that offense, a good MAC team with 9 returning starters. After the first drive, solid. The concern is very little pass rush. That's one of my goals was to see a sack by a defensive lineman. That did not happen. The sacks came from the linebackers and Afari playing that medium position. So those are the concerns that I have. We'll get into the positives in a minute. But Jay, just give us your overall post game, how you felt the game went, what your expectations were, and how it played out.
I'll say that I'm glad our program's at a spot where we're a little bit frustrated with a 37-13 win.
Yeah.
And I'll say this too. My daughter went to Miami of Ohio, and she graduated last December. So I've been keeping tabs on Miami. That quarterback's legit. He can throw the ball around. That hip and hammer, number 0 wide receiver, he's legit. They're a good MAC team, and they'll probably win their division, maybe win the MAC. But I would have hoped that we could have just imposed our will on them at the line of scrimmage. That's what we've been known for. We've been blessed to have incredible senior leadership on both sides of the ball. I think we missed that a little bit on the defensive side a little bit. And, both lines, we got to figure some things out. Some bright spots for me was the freshmen. Walker, Barryon, Dane Key, Afari. You got some dudes out there that are really, really showing some stuff. But I was just frustrated that we couldn't run the ball, and it just didn't seem like defensively we were disciplined enough to just keep them in, keep our rush lanes keep them in the pocket, and it collapse and us get some sacks. I mean, I know we're missing Jordan Wright, but a team like that, we should be able to just go out and impose our will. We should have been, averaging 6-7 yards a carry. I know we were missing Rodriguez, but I just feel like even without him, we should have been able to impose our will. And I know, Eli's first time playing center. I haven't had a chance to look at it, and they were running a bunch of twists. I mean, which is confusing, and maybe it was the wrong calls that really we struggled in with the rushing game. Not sure. I haven't seen the tape, obviously, but maybe that was it. That there's just some confusion and communication on the offensive line, and maybe not making the right calls or recognizing these different exotic blitz. But we know this. I mean, we step into next week, it's a whole different ball game.
Well, the thing that annoyed me, Jay, is like they're going to be running all those twists. Just blast it right up the B gap, hit them while they're moving around. That was some of the frustration. And I think, Freddie, to your point, like we knew the offensive line was going to have some struggles in the pass protection aspect of it. I think the part that we overlooked as both analysts and fans from afar was that this was an injured team in the preseason. This was an injured group. Like Kenneth Horsey wasn't even expected to play up at this point. That first scrimmage, afterwards, I asked Rich Scangarello, what do you want to see in the second scrimmage? Just all of our offensive linemen playing together because they weren't playing together. After the game, Eli Cox was pretty adamant that he felt like that they have some good players, but a lot of yesterday was inexperience, and you could almost sense the frustration where there was probably some communication issues with guys not passing off. In reality, it felt like Levis got hit a lot more than the 2 hurries and 4 sacks. It felt a lot worse than what it was because we're not used to seeing him take sacks because the offensive line was that good last year. I don't know how quickly it can get fixed, but that run game, Freddie, even if you take out the sack yardage, they were only averaging 3.5 yards a carry. Ramon Jefferson got injured after 2, and he looked about as good as any. McLean, he gets injured. Like both of those guys might be out at Florida. And Lavelle Wright probably looked the best of the bunch. He had that awesome pass pro on the long ball to Barryon Brown. He had a physical run, but he's been dealing with a hamstring. So, you kind of got to that's a really tricky situation. So the depth in the running back room's hurting the running game as much as anything right now.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
I was just going to say, the other thing is, as we know in games like this, we want to come out vanilla package on both sides of the ball, not show anything. It just seemed like, obviously we've heard so much about the tight ends. I mean, I know we got Brendan Bates for a touchdown. He missed another pass, but I don't know, man. I'm hoping that is something we're going to see because we got some dudes there. And I know Cummins dropped that ball, and Freddie, you can talk about this a lot more than I can. And I'd love to see Levis take a little bit off those intermediate routes and short routes. Yeah. But, maybe that's the only way he can be accurate. I don't know. I mean, you can speak to that better than I can.
Yeah, Jay, that could have been a little bit of frustration coming out of Will.
True.
Because, he had to have been frustrated with the run game. And to the point that Nick made, yes, Miami, extremely well-coached team. Chuck Martin does a great job. Miami defensively played against Kentucky exactly how I would have. That 4-2-5. You play a lot of games up front, a lot of twists, a lot of stunts, to create confusion and havoc in an offensive line that had 0 starters from a year ago at that position. Exactly what I would have done. Yeah. Now, that's one thing, getting crossed up with the stunts and twists and blitzes and things that run blitzes. That's one thing. Okay, that can be fixed. That's inexperienced. But I did see some one-on-ones that were won by Miami defensive players on the line of scrimmage. That, to me, is more concerning than the twist, blitz, and picking that up. That can be worked out. Losing one-on-ones against an opponent like Miami, a really good MAC opponent, but the level of athlete is getting ready to increase by, 9,000, 10%, whatever, next week. That's concerning. they're good things I saw. Love
Ooh.
the newcomers. Love the newcomers.
You know what else I really love too, Freddie?
What's that?
It's one of the newcomers in my wardrobe. It's KLW handmade belts. Freddie,
Ooh.
I've never had a high quality leather belt. Like I'm a cheapskate, right?
Yeah.
We got some of the product at klwbelts.com, and
You were wearing it yesterday. I saw you.
complete game changer. Oh, and I got the last nameplate on the belt too. I feel like it gets a little extra pep in my step. You know, look good, feel good, play good, pay good. You know, I mean, and that's what happens when you wear KLW handmade belts. KLW belts handmade in the bluegrass, all natural, genuine leather. There's no synthetics, no fake stuff. It's all 100% real. And the Depth Chart Podcast, real, recognized, real. You can give them a call at 859-509-7816. You can also visit them online, like this website we got pulled up right now, klwbelts.com. Free shipping, too. You ain't got to worry about paying for shipping. They're outstanding. Not only are you going to keep your drawers up, Freddie, but you're going to look good doing it, too.
You know, Nick and I have grown really close throughout the years. But yesterday I ran into him at the pregame show, and we both had our KLW belts on. I felt like bros. You know, you and I were bros yesterday, Nick, because
belt bros.
Yeah. The newcomers, man. You know, Kentucky hit on him. Keedron Smith with a scoop and Miller's score. Barryon Brown kickoff return for a touchdown. Looked good in the passing game. Dane Key is just, man. You know, I knew he was a high level route runner coming out of high school, but I love the way he gets in and out of his breaks, catches with his hands. He got a touchdown. Tavion Robinson. Kentucky just hits on all Robinsons that transfer in.
Oh,
if you got a last name Robinson, bring him in.
Robinson. Yeah. I don't care if you're a 2-star
it doesn't
from
matter.
Details or Hoop State. Just give us a Robinson in the slot.
Pre-game show might ask me how much a percentage that he would replace Wandale. And listen, my respect for Wandale's through the roof. I had never seen Tavion play in Kentucky. I said he's probably 40%, but I would think that's higher now. I really liked how he operated, got in and out of his breaks, the run after catch. He's good. He's going to be a heck of a player for Kentucky. But then
he runs great routes.
Yes.
He can find that spot just to sit into him. He's tough.
Those true freshmen. You know, you're talking about recruiting classes. Kentucky hit on that class last year.
Yeah.
Deon Walker, 4 tackles, looked really good. Alex Safari was second on the team in tackles with 6, had a sack and 1.5 tackles for loss. And did so quietly. Dane Key, Barryon Brown, Alex Safari. I mean, Keaton Wade. I mean, man.
Dude, that play he made on the screen.
Yes.
Like, Jay, you know that's some grown man stuff when you can identify the screen on 3rd and long, read and react. And I mean, he split the wood on that hit too. He knocked the hell out of that guy.
Yeah, I mean, the newcomers to me were the story of the game. You know, because listen, I'm not going to be negative whatsoever. A 24-point win against a projected MAC division winner in the opener with all that newness going on. I'm pleased. I'm happy. I mean, did things frustrate? Yes. But at no point in my mind the game was ever out of question. The outcome was ever in doubt. I wasn't mad. You know, I didn't throw things. I'm not for sure that Kentucky actually opened up the playbook last night, and I think the emphasis was on the pass. And I think Kentucky will be a little different. I like Scangarello's plan. The first drive was beautiful.
First drive was unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of things to be happy about. That linebacker, DeAndre Square, Jacquez Jones played well. Andrew Phillips played well. Giving up 13 points to that offense, in my opinion, was a positive, Jay.
Yeah, I totally agree. I will say that I think the points we scored, a little bit of fool's gold because 14 of it was, one was a kickoff return for a touchdown and basically almost a scoop and score, So, but I'm not getting negative on the offense because I do think it was just total vanilla package. We're going to see a lot more. That first drive, I mean, my son turned around and was like, man, he can call a game because that was beautifully every call was perfect. and is executed well by everybody. And it was just great. So I think we're going to see a lot more down the road. But, to only score basically 23 points offensively, in my opinion, is against that team is – I'm not taking anything away from Miami, but, we should be able to score a lot more.
Yeah.
And that was the red zone woes in the first half. I mean, they had – I think the first 4 trips, there was 2 field goals and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Now, one of those is end of half, and they're doing a 2-minute drive, and you got to
True.
settle. But Cummings drops a touchdown. You have the 4th down where he had Upshaw for a touchdown, but was just late to it, and then that ends up being an interception to a kid for Manuel, which that had to be. I'd be freaking fired up to pick off a pass at Kerrfield if I was a Manuel kid, but overall, I think, like you said, Freddie, you saw some of the signs, like, hey, Chris Rodriguez, you could really use him in a lot of these situations. Yeah. But I do think in general, the way that Kentucky has changed its roster, you should be passing the ball more with Levis and these talented wide receivers. I mean, Tavion Robinson had more receiving yards in a half than he did in any of the games he ever played with Hendon Hooker. I mean, that guy was balling right out the get-go. I love Barryon Brown's just cockiness, his confidence. Like, he was like, oh, I laughed when they said we hadn't had a kickoff return touchdown. I knew I was going to take one in the house. And then how much were y'all sweating out that replay review? Be honest.
Yes, I was. I was. Not because of for the touchdown being called back, just because I wanted that so badly for him. You know, we got an 18-year-old or whatever, 18, 19-year-old, just took a kickoff to the house. It just the place erupted. And, I hated that lull, that times before you could really celebrate. I wanted him to have full-on celebration. I loved when players' personalities come out, and I wanted to see that. One thing I looked for that Kentucky exceeded – last year, the Cats had 48 passes defended, which was 11th in the SEC, 3.6 per game. Against Miami, in that pass-happy offense, even though Gabbert was 20 of 28, Kentucky had 4 passes defended. So I like that, Mark. I think the secondary is better than last year.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
The corners are better. Smith, I thought Carrington Valentine, that was not an interference.
Oh, God. The
ball was 8 yards out of bounds. I thought he tackled well. The corners were better than last year. I like Geiger. Ty Asian has all that experience. I think Drew Phillips and Alex Safari complement each other. There's some dudes out there, and I like how Kentucky and Brad White is putting his best players on the field, moving Phillips to that medium. I love that with those linebackers. But, I really wanted to see some pass rush by that organic 3, defensive tackle, nose tackle, defensive end. And Jay, you said it earlier, man. That defensive line really got out of the rush lanes at times last night, which allowed Gabbert, who is really not known as a runner, to advance the football. That has to be cleaned up because Anthony Richardson will run for 940 yards if that happens next week.
I totally agree. I mean, Gabbert said he's that quarterback that's just so frustrating because he'll just slide out and hit somebody. Because, we all know this. You can't expect a DB to cover for 5-6 seconds. It's tough, even if they are a MAC team. Those are great athletes. That Hippenhammer, number 0, he's legit.
Yeah, he is.
But it's frustrating when he can step up, slide out. He obviously didn't run that much, but and that's what Anthony Richardson is going to do. That guy, I'm sure y'all seen the highlights yesterday against a really good Utah team. He lit it up.
The thing with the defensive line too, Freddie, is I feel like that's the natural progression of it. Like they obviously, it took them a little while to just identify run pass on some of those situations.
Yes.
Like just getting a feel. Deion Walker after the game was like, I've been playing against guys who block this way every single time, and now they're doing something different. So the little adjustment period. And then I thought they actually started to get after him and flushed them from the pocket, but that's where you got to the undisciplined aspect of things.
Yeah,
You didn't have the most sound rush lanes. But I do think those are very correctable on film.
Yeah.
But if you are looking for like best thing on the defense that I think you can say without a doubt, and we were very worried about the pass defense going into this game. They were going to press Kentucky vertically. And what does Kentucky do? They gave up 2 pass plays of 15 yards or more. They gave up a 15-yarder and a 24-yarder, and that's it. I mean, they took away big plays. And I think one of those was like a running around scrambling, and they had to defend for 7 seconds. So even though Valentine got those PIs and he kind of let one mistake build after he whiffed on that cornerback blitz, aside from that little stretch right there, like the secondary looks sharp. And to your point about Alex Afari, like that kid, he's going to have 1,000 tackles.
He's
a player.
Yeah, 111 rush yards for Miami is way more than I expected.
Yeah, he had 32 on the big touchdown, and Brad even had, like, you can see if you go back and watch, DeAndre Square is like pointing to somebody to get over there, and they're just too late.
Yeah, that's something I didn't expect, and I didn't expect the yards per carry to be to the advantage of Miami at all. But again, correctable mistakes. The film room, I'm sure they're in there today on their own. And there's a lot of players kicking themselves today and that's a good thing because they, like you said, they're teachable moments, and there's a lot to be taught from week one. But again, week one, beating a good MAC team by 24 points, a lot of positives. But
the cat's covered, right?
So covered,
better, happy.
We're sitting here with, we have concerns, obviously, but listen. As a fan, let me take the media hat off. As a fan, I would expect a 24-point win over a quality MAC team. That's a good win, right? That's a good win to start 1-0 with all that new. Listen, these guys, you couldn't have melted the mouthpieces out of these dudes with a blowtorch. They were so nervous, the first-time players out there. And look how many first-time players were on the field. I mean, that were a bunch. So there's a lot to overcome, with a new coordinator too, offensively.
Yeah, no doubt.
Calling system, from the field to the box. I mean, they rehearse that in practice, but you can't simulate game experience, right, Jay? I mean, you practice all you want to, but when the fans are in the stands, the crowd is loud. I mean, it's totally different. And you pick up, especially these newcomers. I keep talking about the new ones. You can pick up tendencies in fall camp. You can start to understand what the offenses or defense is trying to do to you. But when you go against a totally new opponent, you have no idea what they're going to do. That's different. My concern, one of my concerns, when Mark Stoops was talking about, he didn't want his players playing hero ball. To me, that translated to the defensive line. Stay in your rush lane.
Yeah.
Keep the quarterback in the pocket. That didn't happen. I thought some of the defensive linemen were playing hero ball, try to get sacks, and that's when the pocket opened up and Gabbert could rush out. Jay, you were a pass rusher, outside linebacker, defensive end. You can talk better about that than I can. Did you see that as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's obviously somebody's always got to set the edge, but you also have to have the guys on the inside in their lanes to keep them from stepping up or just sliding out. Stepping up and sliding out. And, it's interesting in this world of transfer portal. You got all these new guys in, plus true freshmen coming in, and they're trying to figure it out. I mean, I had the benefit of having the same DBs, an inside linebackers all 3 years I started. And I knew where they were going to be. They knew where I was going to be. I had the same defensive tackle all but 2 of the 3 years. But I played with all of them since I'd been there, and so we had years together of knowing each other's game and how we play and strengths and weaknesses, and we trusted and knew where they were going to be, each other. And I think this is a different world now, and it's tough for these kids because new systems, new players, different tendencies, different strengths and weaknesses, and they're just trying to learn each other too, and that's something that's not really thought about that much.
I did like some of those plays that Rich had schemed up. I mean, that first play, I think, Freddie, you could hit Tavion. Will had so much time. Tavion was so wide open. They could do 3 more surgeries on your shoulder, and you still could have made it there. I mean, it was as good and as open as a play as you could find. There was a couple cool ones in the red zone where, I don't know, maybe you get a little bit more time. You could see it develop, but there was some open guys. I really enjoyed it, and I really got to tip my invisible cap off to the Big Blue Nation. That was an awesome crowd for a season opener.
Got to be the best ever, right?
Yeah, with rain expected.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the best season opening crowds I've seen for a Mark Stoops game. The tailgaters were out in full force with the grills out, smoking some Eckrich smoked sausages. I don't know if y'all have ever tried Eckrich before, but they're the best of the best, and they're proud to present the $1 million challenge for teachers this 2022 college football season. Eckrich, they partner with Extra Yards for Teachers. That's the nonprofit the college football playoff runs. They're going to invite a local teacher on the field for the South Carolina game, October 8th. And these teachers, selected just from a random list of nominations, get a chance to throw a football through a target to win up to $1 million in donations to their classroom. So head to Eckrich.com. You'll find the link under the football tab. Nominate your teacher by September 28th, and they're going to get a chance to win $1 million for your school through Eckrich. Visit them, Eckrich.com, before September 28th. Nominate your teacher today.
That's great. That is so awesome. I love that. Will Levis. Let's talk a little bit about Will Levis, and because that's the superstar of the team. Completed 66% of his passes, but my numbers are a little bit different there. I don't count drops, and I don't count throwaways. So he was. I wanted to goal for him to be at 70%, and he was that. So I thought Will played well. The interception, you got to be a little bit more patient there and get the football in the end zone. Know your receiver. Keaton Upshaw's 6'6", and just get that thing up in the air a little bit. He had the one deep ball was a little bit underthrown, but he threw it 70 yards. So,
and that was a bad snap too.
Yeah,
kind of threw him off.
Yeah, timing was off.
Yeah, but again, this is Will's first time out. This is his 5th coordinator in 5 years or something like that, and it takes a little time to settle in. And listen, that was probably a lot of pressure on him, and I don't know Will personally. I don't know if he gets frustrated, but he got hit a lot. He got hit way too much against that opponent, and that that could affect him a little bit. So I like his performance. It was solid. And listen, he's special. He's tough, and I don't think I really like when he tried to jump over the defense.
Yeah, let's don't do that next week.
Yeah.
Well, maybe do it next week against Florida. Don't do it against Miami when you're
that's a good point.
5 yards away from the stick.
Yeah, good point. I honestly felt like he played a really good game. I mean, he had 4 balls, probably maybe more, that right in the receiver's hands.
Yeah.
And the thing that I liked about last night with him, I saw a lot of maturity. Let's be honest, in the past, there's been some bad decision making. I didn't see that last night. I saw some patience out of him. Last year, he probably would have run a lot sooner in some of those situations. But he was going through his progressions, and he wasn't staring down Tavion like he did last year with Wandell. Now, I understand. I mean, everybody knew we were going to Wandell, right? But I felt like he took a step, in my opinion. Now, next week, obviously, is going to be a big deal to see where that is at different level competition at the Swamp, crazy environment. But I was impressed.
Yeah, and I did find it funny because you did have some of those drop balls when he was launching in some hard-thrown passes, and it just amused me that there's all of these Johnny quarterbacks who are complaining for years about bad quarterback play. Then they finally get a quarterback with some arm strength, and he's throwing the ball too hard. It's like, I do think there are some where there was a rollout play where he got outside of the pass rusher. He's got Brendan Bates open. It's the touch pass over a defender that he does struggle. Like, that's just not his bread and butter. And I want to see him at least try it a little more in games like this, because Bates, I mean, he had that play, and instead of just throwing the touch ball and letting him catch and run a little, he tried to just get outside of the defender in between the two and then put it in there, and it was a mess. So there are times where that little bloop over a defender that's 6 yards down the field to a guy that's 12, that's probably the area that he needs to work on the most.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference between a passer and a thrower. I mean, I was a thrower. I mean, I would give you a concussion throwing the football on a 5-yard hitch. I mean, that's just the way I was. I was never a passer. I think Will is a passer. A positive note from the throwing game for Kentucky: 14.4 yards per completion. I think what that signifies to me is this offense has big play capabilities, and not just with one pass catcher like Wandale last year. 9 players caught passes last night for Kentucky, and we saw Brown and Dane Key. So you have 3 legitimate receivers, even though Key and Brown are young, and they're going to see things next week that they've never seen before. But we're talking about last night. You have 3 options there. The tight ends weren't incorporated into the offense as much as I thought that was going to happen. We heard so much about that group. Jordan Dingle did have 2 catches. Brendan Bates had a touchdown. Cummins had a touchdown that didn't work out. So I thought we'd see more tight ends, but I like the fact the ball was spread around to 9 pass catchers and 14.4 yards per completion. That was good for me.
Yeah, you had 8 plays of 15 yards or more, including a 45-yarder, 41-yarder, and a 38-yarder. I also thought too, Freddie, that they really were just throwing Wally and Jagger out there to see what they could do, because I didn't feel like they got a lot of help from the tight ends on those obvious passing situations, because of the 4 sacks, 3 were 3rd and long. So, like, they were obvious passing situations, and Miami just teed off on those guys. They picked on them. And I think Kentucky was just trying to – it was a litmus test. I think that's a lot of what that was.
I'm excited. Last year, obviously, they bracketed Wandale, every play. And you're not going to be able to do that this year. We got receivers all around that can run great routes, get open, catch the ball. And once they start utilizing the tight ends too, it's just going to open more opportunities, and it's exciting to see these young guys and Tavion. It's impressive.
Guys, let's finish this thing up with one impression from Saturday's win over Miami. If you can describe Kentucky in one positive light, their performance, and one negative from last night, what would it be, Jay?
I'll start with the negative. The one thing that really frustrated me last night, probably more than anything, is I didn't see a lot of juice out there on the field. I just didn't see the energy that I thought that they would come out with, and that's concerning to me. We've all played in those games where you're playing a lesser opponent, you're supposed to win, and maybe you just don't get up for it, and you got that big game next week, and maybe that's what it was. I don't know. Maybe it's just the inexperience or them just playing together for the first time. But the positive for me was we're complaining about a 37-13 win.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of bright spots. I mean, we got playmakers everywhere, and I think Deion Walker is going to be an absolute beast once he figures it out. I think Oxidine, we forget he missed pretty much all last season. I can't remember how much he participated in spring. I expect a lot of big things out of him. We need Rodgers to take a step up, but I just feel like that they got the pieces, but now they got to figure just a few things out on the line, both sides of the line.
Yeah, and Jay, to your point, that was part of what Mark Stoops said too. He was like, sometimes you can't tell if it's if it's a business-like approach or if they're just kind of going through the motions, and he felt that as well. That will not be the case next week.
No.
If I've got a positive, Freddie, dudes, Kentucky's got some dudes. I don't care what your X's and O's, you got to have Jimmys and Joes. The Cats they have their guys, right? The negative is just the running game. That's the worst running game I can ever remember a Mark Stoops team having going back to before the 2016 season. I think they struggled against Chattanooga, I want to say, when they tried to throw a ball a lot last year. But it wasn't just that the offensive line wasn't pushing guys. There was a couple times where you miss some cutbacks, or I expected somebody to push the pile a little bit more. And you also have the health like that. I really, really am worried because, I mean, tell me before you had to run the ball. You got to be able to control it a little bit.
Yeah.
Mostly so you can let Will Levis run the play action game. So that's my biggest concern, is that running game.
And keep AR off the field, right? I mean,
yeah,
we got to control the ball. I mean, we got to limit their opportunities down there.
Yeah.
That's a dude right there.
Yeah.
I've already talked about, you guys mentioned positives and negatives, and I'm going to go football nerd here. I'm going to say my positive is the third phase special teams. Didn't have an alignment issue. Did have a penalty, but that's, Ruffalo
had a bad punt, but
yeah, Ruffalo 3 for 3 showed some improved distance there with a 50-yarder. He's going to be a consistent kicker, point scorer for you. Got the returners. Tavion Robinson had a nice return. Barry on Brown, obviously, with an electric kickoff return. And then you can't forget about J.J. Weaver's block punt. So the third phase for me was the positive. I really like Kentucky's special teams performance. The negative is the twofold for me. And I wanted to bring something unique, but I have to agree with Jay. I was disappointed in the team that the juice wasn't there in a game, in a home opener, in an anticipated home opener in front of a home crowd that was great, fought the elements potentially. And one thing for me, I was disappointed because Mark Stoops will never, ever address this, but he tied Barrett Bryant last night for the most wins in program history. That is significant. I love that man. I respect that man. And the fact that the team didn't have the juice to get him that accomplishment in week one was disappointing to me. That the lack of juice for me was signified on the line of scrimmage. Kentucky did not consume the line of scrimmage on either side, and that jumped, and that's got to change. That's got to change. Even though Kentucky's young and inexperienced on the offensive line, still they're much better players than the 260 linemen on the other side from Miami.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me, Jay. I got you out of here right before you go to church.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
thanks
Nick,
for including me. I had a blast.
Yeah, Nick, get some sleep, man. I know you're feeling. I had Danville, Bull County at the Kroger KSR game of the week. My Mayfield Cardinals beat Paducah Tillman. Jay Dortch, as you see, I proudly wore my shirt for you tonight.
I so much am disappointed in you for wearing that shirt.
Salt in the wound, Freddie. Come on.
Dude.
But thank you all for listening. We hope you had a good Sunday. Have a great Sunday, and I hope you like this post-game format. We'll be back same time next week. Andy had a family commitment he couldn't miss, and we'll bring him on. And hopefully we're celebrating a win over Florida. Big week, guys. Big week of preparation. Got to get better. There's no way around it. Kentucky has to get better because if Kentucky plays at Florida like they played against Miami, they're going to get beat pretty bad.
Yeah.
So got to get better. Thank you for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Hopefully if you subscribe and like us and go to our YouTube thingy.